Good morning, how are you? Today we're going to be talking about how to overcome depression, binge eating, and eating disorders with intuitive eating. And I have a proven study that I want to share with you today. So if you're coming on, please say hello. I'd love to say hi to you. And if you're catching the replay, hashtag replay so I can say hi. And if you have any questions at all as I go along, please put it in the comments so that I can answer them for you. So counting calories and avoiding foods that are considered bad, and we all call certain foods bad, which is more or less the predominant weight control strategy of our times. It's all about looking outside yourself to decide when and what to eat. So, hi Annie, how are you? Thanks for coming on. So you look at this, look at the times that we're in. You consider the calories, you consider your weight. Sorry, my connection just went off, but hi Kelly. My connection's back and forth this morning. Let's see if it's gonna stay for me. Fingers crossed. Okay, so if you think about it, we have to consider our calories, we have to consider our weight, and then we think if a food is considered good or bad. These are all the things we stop and we take into consideration before we make that decision to actually eat it or not. And somehow, given this major rise of insulin resistance and obesity, that during our times right now, it's pretty safe to say that the dietary standard of care that's going on has been not quite, what it should be. So what's actually come of that? Let's see, Annie, good morning. Drinking some coffee, heavy whipped cream instead of milk. Okay. Thank you, Annie. I've never tried it with heavy whipping cream before. I'll have to try that sometime. That sounds good, actually. So, I'm sorry, ladies, that my connection keeps going back and forth, but hopefully it will calm down and stay for us. So, what's come of all of this is that there's all these different diets to replace the counting of the calories. But even these alternative strategies, they tell us to look outside of ourselves for guidance for what we should put inside of ourselves, right? So, there's so much research around this, and that's what I want to share with you today. So searching for some sort of direction about our diet and our health is what we always end up doing, but somehow we kind of keep going in the wrong direction. So that's where intuitive eating comes in. And that's actually the opposite of what we've been told or what we've actually learned, because it's the acceptance of food and our feelings, and which can seem kind of non-conventional or a little backwards, because you're like, what? I should feel my feelings? I should eat what I want? That sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? And intuitive eating is actually based on feeling and listening to those internal cues about hunger, about our cravings, and even our satiety, how full we are. So we crave what we want, right? We crave what we want, and then we want what we can't have. But with intuitive eating, when you allow yourself the freedom to have what you want, when you want, then the desire to have anything that you want, it starts to fade, okay? So for example, I went to the store, did my grocery shopping, and I bought a Kit Kat. I bought like a really big, I bought this Kit Kat, and it was I think it's the dark chocolate with the mint. My husband and I wanted to try it. It was something new. Hi, Paula, how are you? So we had it. We liked it. So now I ended up getting another one. So I got a new one. Sorry, my connection is back and forth. I'm trying to tell my story, but hopefully I'll get through it. So anyway, this Kit Kat has been sitting in my fridge for it's sitting there for a couple weeks. And my husband and I joke about it when we say oh, that Kit Kat's still in there. We keep forgetting about it because it's lost its appeal. It's not because we allow ourselves, and I allow myself to have whatever I want when I want, and I give my body what it needs when it's telling me that I don't always want stuff. I prefer something that's a little more nourishing, more nutrient dense. It's just what I prefer. And yes, once in a while I will want to have a Kit Kat or something a little more indulgent, which is fine. But just to give you that example, that Kit Kat's sitting in my fridge for weeks now, and it has, it's totally lost its appeal. It'll eventually get eaten, but we're not like going crazy about it. We've forgotten it's even there. So that's what can eventually happen when you take on all of these intuitive eating principles and you start living that way. Okay, so Kelly, let's see. You can't deny yourself, or you're a rebel. Yes, and I do. I never deny. I never deny it. If I want it, I will have it, but I don't go crazy on it. And I listen to my hunger and my fullness cues, and that's it. It's that simple. And it's okay, maybe not that simple, but it sounds simple. But you can, like, it does. It gets to that point where it's really simple. It's a matter of being able to notice when you're really feeling true hunger, because some people struggle with that. I have clients who struggle with that, and I work them through it. And same thing when you get to the point of knowing when you're full. I have people ask me, how do I know when I'm full? Like, I don't know. These are things that I teach. So, but that's part of the intuitive eating and part of the intuitive eating principles of learning to honor those hunger and fullness, and actually listen to what your body's telling you and what it's feeling. And we have so many outside sources telling us not to do that, that you really need to slow down and shut everything else out and just listen to your body and what it's telling you, because it will tell you. It's just a matter of giving it that opportunity. Okay, so is this bad? Is it really bad? My connection keeps like shutting off on me and then coming back, and I'm sorry if it's choppy, but let me know. Maybe I don't want to have to start over, but I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. So anyway, there's this study I want to share with you, and it was the research was published last in this journal. It was published in a journal called Eating and Weight Disorders. And it was followed up on the health and well-being of nearly 1,500 adolescents. And this was over a period of 8 years. So they got some really good information from this and some really good feedback. So at the start of the study in 2010, hi Natalia, how are you? The adolescents answered a series of questions, and these questions were just designed to elicit their approach towards eating. And they were asked how strongly they agreed or disagreed with some of these questions, which were, I stop eating when I'm full, I trust my body to tell me how much to eat, and I eat everything that is on my plate, even if... So 8 years later, when the researchers asked them the same series of questions, they became more aligned with intuitive eating tendencies, and they'd gone on to enjoy more positive outcomes in terms of their health status. Okay, so the researchers actually reported the intuitive eating predicted a lower likelihood of depressive symptoms, low self-esteem, binge eating, body dissatisfaction, and unhealthy or extreme weight control behaviors like fasting or skipping meals or taking pills or purging. All those kinds of things were... Hi Lynn, how are you? Just warning you, my connection is going back and forth, so hopefully I can finish up here. So if you are someone who has been restricting certain foods, when these foods are placed in front of you, then you have the opportunity to eat them, right? Well, you might be more tempted than someone who's been eating intuitively, because we have put blame on certain foods for weight gain that leads us to overeat. And then when we're in the presence of them, over time, we end up eating. We end up eating whatever's in front of us. So an intuitive eater might say something like, okay, cake is fine, but that doesn't look like such a great piece of cake, so I don't know if I really even want it. Or maybe they would have a few bites and say, okay, I'm full, I've had enough. I don't need any more. So when you don't have all those sets of rules in front of you, or those voices in your head with all those rules, there's just less excitement around those kinds of foods, because you can have them anytime you want, okay? So what does a non-intuitive eater look like? So they may go, like a non-intuitive eater may go to a restaurant, okay? They're gonna place their order, and it may come in a very large portion size. You know it does. You know they give us large portions, especially here in America. And they may or may not be hungry enough to eat the whole plate of food, but they don't really listen to their hunger level. So they see all this food on their plate, and now they're just going to eat all of it just because it's there. So although intuitive eating is how we were born into the world intuitive eaters, but we have become conditioned to eat meals based on schedules, how available food is to us, and the fact that we don't want to waste food, right? I know I'm big on that. I struggle with that. I don't want to throw food out. And there's our own cultural expectations too, depending on, what kind of culture you come from. So a lot of times, family get are just based around food. So these, all of these factors can just leave us feeling really disconnected to our internal cues, and in our feelings, and that leaves us more likely to overeat. Okay, so think about this for a moment. If you let a child eat a second piece of cake without glamorizing it or demonizing it, the child will likely lose interest after a bite or two. Your body knows what it wants, and when you tune into that, you make choices that are good for your overall health. Because it's not just about your physical health, it's about your mental health as well. They go hand in hand, they go together, okay? And if you want overall health, your mind-body connection needs to be made. So you're not just, putting good food in your body, you're giving yourself the satisfaction factor too, and really enjoying foods that were normally deemed as bad, but are no longer, because you're just enjoying it, but you're enjoying it in a way that feels good to your body. Okay, and then you feel good both body and mind. It's good overall. So let me know if you have any questions about intuitive eating, or the content I just covered, or even your own health and wellness goals. I'm more than happy to chat with you about that as well. I actually do complimentary consultations if you want to jump on the phone, only about 30 minutes or so, and we can dive really deep into your own health and wellness goals and see about maybe you're feeling a little frustrated, a little stuck, and we can see about taking you from where you are now to where you'd like to go, and if that's something you'd like to look further into. So if there's no questions right now, I'm going to hop off, but I hope you all have a very beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.